The digital economy is projected to drive up to $3 trillion in new infrastructure investment by 2030. But this expansion is hitting a physical limit. The global power grid simply cannot keep up with demand. This chart shows the projected global data center supply over the next 5 years. We are tasked with adding nearly 100 gigawatts of capacity, pushing the worldwide total to roughly 200 gigawatts, just to support incoming artificial intelligence workloads. The physical hardware to generate that electricity simply does not exist at scale. Look at Tier 1 tech hubs. Securing a new grid connection in Dublin, Singapore, or Northern Virginia now guarantees a wait time of 4 or more years. Corporate site selection is no longer driven by cheap land or favorable tax rates. It is dictated entirely by who can actually deliver reliable electricity. This capacity crunch is accelerating because the nature of computing is changing. By 2027, the primary workload will shift from AI training to AI inference. Training builds the model. It requires massive centralized clusters of processors computing for months at a time. Inference applies the model. It requires instant, real-time responses to end-user prompts. This forces a strategic decision. Do you lease space from big tech hyperscalers, surrendering total control of your network to access their existing compute power immediately? Or do you absorb the massive capital expense to build a proprietary, highly resilient sovereign hybrid portfolio? Corporate planners are now trading independent operational resilience for speed to market. The first factor driving this trade-off is the physical requirement of next-generation hardware, specifically powering and cooling server racks drawing up to 100 kilowatts. Legacy data centers were built for standard power draws and air cooling. They simply cannot handle the heat and electricity demands of modern GPU clusters. To bypass the multi-year utility grid delays, infrastructure developers are deploying aggressive bring-your-own-power strategies. This requires securing on-site natural gas turbines or acres of massive battery energy storage systems to guarantee electricity. This forces real estate developers to essentially become localized utility companies, which drives upfront capital expenditures drastically higher. Inside the facility, that extreme density makes advanced liquid cooling mandatory to prevent catastrophic hardware failure. All old internal plumbing architecture is useless. Relying on the traditional utility grid saves upfront capital, but guarantees years of project delays. Self-generation buys speed, but at a massive financial premium. The second trade-off factor is physical geography. Optimizing exclusively for AI training means centralizing your infrastructure into remote megacampuses where vast tracts of land and power are still available. That yields high compute efficiency, but it creates unacceptable latency for 2027's AI inference applications. A real-time medical diagnostic tool or automated financial trading system cannot wait for data to travel across the continent. The alternative is decentralizing the network. You push computing power out to thousands of small edge nodes in dense urban areas adjacent to the user. Prioritizing low latency multiplies your management burden. Operating a fragmented web of microdata centers introduces exponential logistical complexity compared to running a single megasite. The final trade-off factor is the ownership and control of global connectivity. The hyperscale route offers immediate, frictionless access to global submarine cables, a network heavily funded and controlled by American tech giants. But giving up sovereign control over your data pathways introduces severe geopolitical risk. If your vendor experiences an outage or regulatory block, that single point of failure creates a ripple effect that cripples your entire global operation. The sovereign hybrid approach counters this. You build independent edge infrastructure within established urban metros to keep data localized. But urban environments hide a physical threat. Installing fresh fiber relies heavily on horizontal directional drilling, often executed quickly using outdated as-built utility maps. Working near dense underground infrastructure leaves zero margin for error. A slight deviation by a fast-moving drill causes a catastrophic single fiber cut that instantly paralyzes an expensive edge inference hub. There is no perfectly safe network. Planners are trading the broad geopolitical risk of global networks for the localized physical vulnerability of urban infrastructure. Choosing the correct path depends entirely on mapping your company's operational profile against these constraints. This chart maps the strategic options. We measure CapEx and management effort on the horizontal axis against operational independence on the vertical axis. A regulated enterprise operates in the high-effort, high-independence quadrant, heavily utilizing the sovereign hybrid model. Their strict requirements for localized data privacy and EU AI Act compliance justify the massive cost of private hardware. Conversely, an AI startup belongs in the low-effort, low-independence quadrant, relying on the hyperscale model. Their survival depends on immediate access to processing power. That urgency outweighs the long-term risk of vendor lock-in. The era of cheap, easily accessible cloud infrastructure is permanently over. Autonomy now comes at a steep premium. Regardless of the path you choose, the physical realities of the 2026 data center landscape apply universally. You must lock in capacity early, prioritize guaranteed power access, and build extreme deployment buffers. The $3 trillion infrastructure supercycle is already moving. It waits for no one.